Please tell me he's gonna be okay.
I'm looking at my husband and all of my children. And I told him, JC shot himself.
These lives were all affected by suicide.
Mum rang me at 8:20 to say she just cut Onyx off a tree.
Each bravely share their story.
Several years of nonstop harassment made me spiral into depression to the point of trying to attempt suicide. When I was born a girl and had probably a pretty stereotypical childhood. When I was a freshman in high school, I started kind of questioning my identity.
At that time, Aiden identified as a lesbian.
And was bullied a lot. I'd get shoved into lockers or tripped by other students.
The bullying came in many different forms.
And I played sports, and so my backpack would sometimes get taken while I was at practice, and I would find it in trash cans around campus.
Aiden's lowest point came in his junior high year at school.
I really didn't understand why this was happening, and so that made me spiral into depression. It was very isolating, and I always just felt sad. And so it eventually also had kind of turned into self-harm behavior.
He fell into a deep depression and attempted suicide.
After my attempt, my mom asked why I did it, and the only response I really had was just that I felt like I always should have been a boy. And she had said that that was totally a thing and hopped on board.
Aiden transitioned when he turned 16, and that summer started taking testosterone.
The first changes that I noticed were my voice deepening and then just like growing like more body hair and facial hair and your muscle mass. So I started to also look different, and I was able to get my name legally changed.
When Aiden returned to school in his senior year of high school, it felt like a new beginning.
I was able to have more of a fresh start. It really impacted my mental health in a very positive way. I started to feel more confident.
However, he still faced many hurdles.
I grew up in Central Maine, and there weren't really any providers who provided gender-affirming care. And so for me to even access hormone treatment, we would have to drive 6 to 8 hours to Rhode Island. And this was like once a month to start. There still is just a lack of services in the state of Maine.
Aiden's struggle to access the healthcare he needed inspired him to train as a therapist to support trans and queer youth.
Yeah, the most fulfilling part of my work is seeing these kids as they grow and seeing the positive changes that happen for them, even if it's just by calling them by the name that they prefer. By using a name and pronouns that a kid wants to be called, it actually reduces suicidality statistically.
Ivy lost her brother Onyx to suicide when he was just a teenager.
My brother's name was Onyx Rose. He had beautiful golden brown eyes that would always light up the room, and that golden glow in his eyes, after hitting high school, it slowly dimmed away, and in the end they extinguished it.
When Onyx came out as trans, he had the support of his mum and sister. But when the kids at school found out, it was a different story.
That's when they started announcing to everyone that Onyx was a weirdo. Kids just attacking him for this transition. This person's transgender, they're a slut, they're disgusting. There were people that made fake accounts under his name to bully other children, and in the retaliation, they bailed Onyx up in the toilet and tried to bash him. His lunch was stolen, thrown in his face. He was spat on.
Onyx's mum was aware of the bullying and sent countless emails to the school, but they fell by the wayside.
There was no support for the transition at school whatsoever. He would do good and then, go to school or jump on the phone and something would happen and it'd just all go downhill again. The day Onyx left us, he seemed happier and more sociable. God only knows what he was thinking that day. Mum rang me at 8:20 to say she just cut Onyx off a tree. The paramedics were trying to bring him back and to hurry up and come over to say goodbye.
Amanda also lost a family member in tragic circumstances.
JC would have been 16 this year. He and I had kind of a rough start, as any step-parent, step-child relationship would. But as JC got older, I met him when he was about 11, 12. He started to want to develop a relationship with me. We grew our relationship over time. It was genuine. Anytime I introduced JC, this is my son. JC was a very kind and giving soul. He cared for everybody. He had friends, he had a social life.
A few days before he took his life, JC had come out as non-binary and pansexual.
We love and accepted him. He told me that he had informed one of his classmates, and that classmate had gone and told everybody, and that's when the bullying commenced. He was being called the F word nonstop. Give it a couple of days. I said, "Hey bud, did you have any issues?" He said, "Nope, I'm all good." And I thought it was all resolved.
That weekend, Amanda and JC hung out and she felt everything was sorted.
Monday they had off from school. JC got up and made breakfast, and I said, "Jay, I'm gonna run your dad to the shop. I will be right back."
During the car ride, Amanda's son Blake called her to say JC had gone into her room and not come out.
So I get home and JC still hasn't come out. I'm banging on the door. I'm like, "Jay, are you okay? What's going on?" I had to put all of my weight into pushing the door open, and that's when I found JC.
At first, Amanda thought he was sleeping, but then she saw the blood.
I just started screaming. I hugged him and I begged God to tell me that it was just a terrible nightmare. I ran outside and my husband was standing there with all the kids. I told him JC shot himself. After the deputy had gone in and confirmed, it's like it all hit me. He left no note, no indication that he was going to do this.
JC's school launched an investigation, but Amanda didn't get the answers she was hoping for.
My husband and I ended up having a meeting with the mayor, superintendent, both chief of police, and honestly, the only thing that happened is that all of the facts were swept under the rug. We were pretty much told that JC being called the F word was building his character, and that the boys that were bullying him were friends.
Amanda doesn't want what happened to JC to happen to anyone else.
They launched JC's Hope to provide free mental health resources. There's a form on JC's Hope website, and over 50 families have filled it out in regards to their experience with bullying. I have been advocating for these children. I'm just trying to hold the school district accountable for bullying. I've taken it upon myself to create change. JC fell through the cracks, and I'm just not letting that happen to other students.
For those in similar situations, Amanda has some advice.
If you're struggling, don't be afraid to say your truth. When you're in that dark place, that's the hardest time to reach for help. And if you feel like you don't have anybody, find somebody. Find me. Do not stay silent.
Aiden hopes that his story can offer support to other struggling LGBTQ+ communities.
It will get better, and I know that it's really hard in the moment, but try to find those people that support you, even if it's like one person. As you're able to become more confident and comfortable in yourself, your life will change and it will really get better. I was able to get married, and we've been talking about starting a family. That was just something that I never thought I would be able to even do when I was in that place of being really depressed and isolated. And so it's just really nice to kind of know that there was hope.
Ivy still fights on in Onyx's name and is determined that he is not forgotten.
I have had talks with the Minister of Education and representatives from her office. We have decided now that it's in our best interest to have a lawyer look through everything. I got the petition going. I started sending emails to everyone in the education department. Well, we've reached 10,350 signatures so far, and it's only going to keep growing, and they need to change the things that led to this. You know, the lack of support in the schools, the lack of guidance. Schools need to do better. Schools need to protect our kids. What we want is change.
We are seen. Are you?